You know that feeling that you got in the pit of your stomach the night before Christmas? Now times it by 1,000,000.
It's Michigan versus Ohio State.
It's a war.
Good morning, Bucknutters. It is Tuesday, November 22nd, 2016. I am Dan Rubin. This is the Bucknuts Morning 5 and Change. It is the week of the game, Tuesday, Duane Long. Are you ready, Duane?
It's Michigan week. This is what we always look forward to. If you're an Ohio State person, this is the week. The game, Dan, here it is.
And obviously it's going to be a special The Game, and we're thrilled about it. It's been a great week already. Got a lot of stuff planned for the Bucknutters. Let's first take a quick look back at Michigan State. I had no real vibe going into that game. Once the weather report came out earlier in the week, I fully admit I was nervous. I thought they got off to a terrible start, and that kind of gave Michigan State confidence from there on out. What do you make of the game this past weekend and how it could affect them going forward?
Dan, this thing about the weather is just, I don't know what to say about that. This team, this is Ohio. We could run into a year when half the season is in weather like we saw in East Lansing. And this team just does not handle bad conditions. That's the one takeaway from me for this game is that this team just does not. It's like they've never seen snow before. It's a problem. You know, we could have the same thing this Saturday, and that this team just does not seem to handle weather conditions is baffling to me. It was a tough game. A couple of big plays. Again, you look back at Penn State. It was a big play. Block kick, couple of block kicks in that game. One of them going back for a touchdown. Michigan State, got off to a good start with first play. They get 11 yards on a run. Then they threw a pass for 60-some yards, and we're down 7-0 early. And then this team just it stalled out. I don't know. I still think youth is part of the problem with this team. Barrett just didn't have a great game. I think so much conversation about Barrett is way over the top right now. Bench him. Hope he goes pro. I posted about it yesterday on the board. It's just crazy how far fans have gone with this. It was a bad game. We got out of it with a win, and it's Michigan week. Let's look forward. Maybe that's what the team was doing, looking forward. We'll see.
I tend to agree with you there. There were guys in that game, and I've pulled one name out just because I've been almost his apologist to this point. And Jerome Baker played one of the worst games I've ever seen for an Ohio State linebacker. And it makes no sense to me because when you're that talented and have proven how good you are, that to me looked like a lack of effort. You get cut blocked and don't get up quick enough, that kind of stuff. I've never seen him play like that. He has no excuse for the weather. He's from Cleveland. So I hope now that they were looking ahead because otherwise they're in trouble. That's my feeling on it. Otherwise, if Ohio State plays this weekend, the way it did the past weekend, they're going to lose by 3 touchdowns. Now, I don't expect them to do that, but it is troubling that every time the weather comes up or every time there's some weird adversity, we seem to act like we're not prepared. I'm not into that. I don't understand it. So I hope it was the win for Barrett too. He was woefully inaccurate. It's very hard from where we sit and not knowing the exact play calls and not having the all 22 tape for me to know who was completely to blame. But I do know they went away from throwing the ball downfield because they just couldn't complete passes. It wasn't that, whoever was bad routes, wind, or accuracy, they stopped throwing it downfield for that reason. So very disappointing. That said, what's your vibe on the game? The Buckeyes are, in most Vegas places, 6.5, 7, or 7.5 point favorites. You take out home field advantage. That means they're basically saying that Ohio State's a 4-point team, better than Michigan on its face. Do you agree? What's your vibe on Michigan? Maybe your breakdown. They have the new quarterback, John O'Corn, in there. Take it away.
Pretty much the same things you said, Dan. If this team plays look at the last two games. Scored 124 points, gave up 6, and then come back in this game, and it looks like what we saw a few weeks ago against Penn State and Indiana and Northwestern. I don't know what to make of that. How we can just be, think about it. It's complete opposite. We had the down weeks, and then we come out with two incredible performances. Now we're back to that. I just don't understand why this team cannot get going in the right direction and stay that way. Consistency is huge, and we're not seeing it. Yes, we should beat this team by 3 touchdowns, but if we play like we did last Saturday, there's no way we're going to beat Michigan. Absolutely no way. We should. I'm predicting we win, but which team's going to show up? We don't know. And are the elements going to be a problem again? We don't know. This is unknown is the one word that sums up this team right now. Defense was playing better. There were a couple of big plays, and that showed a lot of in the stat lines. They rushed for 207 yards. Yeah, well, they had 86 yards on 2 carries. So Ohio State's number 18 in the country against the run, averaging 120 yards a game on defense against a run. So it can be an outstanding football team. Ohio State and Alabama are the 2 best teams I've seen all year, depending on which Saturday you see the Ohio State football team. Hopefully the one that blew out Nebraska and Maryland will show up. That it really comes back to, we'll see.
Let's just assume, for the sake of this podcast, that both teams hand out their best punch, okay? If that's the case, where would be your biggest concern for the Buckeyes?
I would say pass protection. Michigan has 37 sacks on the year. 37 sacks. They're averaging better than 3 a game. Protecting the quarterback is the one area, we saw it the Penn State game. We saw that the breakdowns. Urban Meyer seems to think that problem is solved. We're going to see this Saturday.
It's a major concern for me. I know they say it's Herb hasn't reacted quite as poorly about it, but where would you see the Ohio State's biggest strength?
I think Ohio State can run the ball against anybody, and they've run the ball so well against this Michigan team. Now, Michigan last year, after Ohio State just gutted them, ran it right down their throats, they said, well, this guy's out and that guy's out. Okay, well, all right. But we ran it right at them. I think that we can get after the quarterback. We don't have a lot of sacks, not as many as we want, but pressure has been pretty consistent. We're making the guys throw the ball before they want to throw the ball. And, sacks are big and you get negative yardage out of it, and it's exciting and, get you pumped up. But in the end, making a guy throw early, probably a 0 yards gained on that play. So I think we can get after him. I don't think he's that mobile. not real impressed with Michigan offense. I am impressed with their defense.
I think that's a fair statement. Let's just hope Ohio State gives out its best punch. Let's move on to recruiting. Obviously, this is going to be an enormous weekend for visits. The list is long and glorious. We are going to touch on something that could turn to be a tad bit negative. There has been a vibe throughout his recruitment that Shaun Wade could possibly flip to Alabama. He is visiting for the Iron Bowl this weekend. He is not going to be at the game. He gave a story to Luke Stampini, a Florida-based writer from 24/7 Sports yesterday, where it sounded like it's going to be an Ohio State-Alabama decision at the end. There's also word that Baron Browning could flip to Alabama. I said this on the air this past weekend. Throughout recruiting, I haven't felt the gut punch. If they lose Shaun Wade, I'll be bummed out. But I did know that it was a chance. Losing Baron Browning to Alabama, not to say that Ohio State had him, would be really disappointing. Your vibe on those two, whether you think they'll be in the class and what it would mean if they weren't.
I've never, Browning was a guy everyone's all of a sudden it seemed like, where he's a Buckeye lean, and I just never got that. I would love to have this guy. He's just an immense talent. We're going to lose Quan McMillan. I would like to replace him with a better football player. Quite frankly, Quan has been above average at best. I thought this guy was going to be a star here. Being able to go right to Browning, that would be just enormous. So I'm hoping that that's true, that he's trending Ohio State. We're hearing more that he's trending Alabama no sooner than we hear he's trending Ohio State. So I don't know. I can't really get a good vibe on what's going on with that guy. As far as Wade's concerned, Wade is committed, and I'm just going to wait and see what happens. I hate that his mother is so absolutely determined that he's going to go to Alabama, it seems like. She's pushing Alabama. Hopefully he's got it in him to cut the apron strings. He's been committed for quite some time. So apparently he wants to come to Ohio State. But is he going to yield to family pressure and stay down south? I hope not. We're going to find out very soon. I don't think it's going to take any time at all. He's going to go to Alabama. He's going to decide relatively quickly. I don't think we're going to wait long to find out. As far as impact on the class, we got a really nice bunch of corners coming in, especially if we get a Kuda, and that seems like a much higher percentage that we're going to get him and he's going to stick. That's going to offset Wade. Love to have both of them. We got some other guys. We got a couple other corners coming in that are good football players. I'm trying to remember the kid that transferred from Westville South. He went down to IMG. He's a good football player. Real good
Marcus
football
Williamson.
player. Yeah, that's the name. I thought it was Williamson. He can play. He's not as big, obviously, but he's a good football player. So, impact, you want to get as many great corners as you can, especially when we're looking at a situation where we could be losing our top two guys. I think it's pretty much accepted that Conley's going. So many mock drafts have him going in the first round, no later than the second. I think Marshawn Lynch is actually a better player. And, his injury
Marshawn Lattimore?
Marshawn Lattimore. His injury history is probably the only thing that would keep him out of the first round. It's a big cornerback draft, though, so maybe they'll reconsider come back next year when, there's a better chance they'll go higher. I don't know how important that is to them. We'll see. So
I don't see either one of them coming back. They're both rated highly enough. Lattimore's the highest. Both McShay and Kuiper have the number one corner on the board. Once your name goes up like that, you're gone. I'm sorry. So.
I hadn't seen McShay, but I saw Kuiper had him number one on his board. So
McShay has an 8th overall.
Well, look, it doesn't surprise Dan. We've watched him all year, and throwing at him is futile. I don't know how many passes he's defensed. I haven't seen a guy get his hands on that many balls since Brad Roby's junior year, when I think he led the nation in passes defense. The guy, it's futile to throw at him. So
he's great.
He's and losing both of them.
I think just for me,
getting back.
I'm not saying I would draft him first of all the group, but in terms of coverage skills, I'm not sure there's been anyone I've seen in the past decade that's been better than him. I realize that sounds like hyperbole, but his mirror skills, or whatever you call that, he's unbelievable.
You never see anybody get distance. You never see anybody create separation on him. He's on top of him. He's a long kid. He's what you want in a cornerback. And one thing I love about him is he's just got that competitive fire. He brings it. He's versus a run, he will come up hard and play the run. So pretty complete cornerback. And sticking around is probably not in the cards for him either. So it would have been nice to have Wade in this class. He's not gone yet. I'm sure that the staff is going to fight hard and use all their opportunities to speak to him and try to keep him in the class. I'd love to have him. Be disappointed in losing him, but it is what it is, and family pressure, it matters.
If you look, also his mom is the only one going with him on the trip. I believe Dad is more in the Ohio State camp, so we shall see. Very eventful Tuesday.
Dad was at a recent event photographed wearing head-to-toe Ohio State gear.
So Dad, the brains come from the dad side of the family. We know that. Keep it locked here, Bucknuts. Don't forget tonight the playoff rankings will be revealed. We'll have total coverage of that. Ohio State obviously is going to still be in the 2 spot, but there should be plenty of good chatter. It's going to come down to, assuming Ohio State can take care of business and let's say Michigan State loses to Penn State, it's going to come down to whether they value conference championship and all that good stuff, but certainly will be a source of much chatter, and you'll want to be here on Bucknuts. We thank Duane for stopping by. We hope you're enjoying the week before the game. Have a great one, Bucknutters.